Hi, this is Gary from 3Bug Media, and today I'm going to answer a question I get every so often, and that is, what percentage of revenue should I spend on my marketing and advertising? So I'm going to give you the traditional answer, and I'm going to give you the modern day answer. Now, with traditional businesses, especially like franchises, retail locations, any kind of storefront, you're selling physical goods, things like that, typical spend would be somewhere between 3 and 6% of your revenue. You know what I mean? And that's for traditional businesses. Like I said, you got a storefront, you're a sandwich shop, restaurant, things like that, pool and spa. That's typically where you would peg your revenue, somewhere in that range. Now, it could be more if you're, say, a service business, or you're a business that has a much higher margin, higher margins than that, then you may spend more to acquire customers. Okay, so that's the traditional answer. And the reason this really doesn't apply anymore, because this is an old and antiquated way of trying to determine what you should spend. Because traditionally with this is where businesses would be spending money on newspaper ads, magazine ads, direct mailers, advertising on the radio, TV, things like that. And they really couldn't determine what the return on investment was. So they just figured, a safe spot would be somewhere in this range. If I make sure I just spend this money, then I'll get enough business to survive to next year. So it's a really antiquated way of trying to figure out what your budget should be. But surprisingly, most businesses still use this, especially traditional businesses. And that's because they're not tracking their ROI for their ad spend. Okay, so that is your traditional answer. I'm going to give you a more modern answer now. So when it comes to what you should pay for your marketing and advertising, it really depends on your ROI. And the great thing is that today, especially with online marketing, it's super easy to determine what your ROI is when you're spending your money on marketing and advertising. So if you're doing Facebook ads, Google AdWords, things like that, you can track every dollar and see what kind of return you're getting if you set it up and you track it properly. Okay, so if you know your advertising ROI, your budget can essentially be unlimited. Because if you're doing, say, a Facebook ad and for every dollar you spend, you get $3 back, and that produces a satisfactory return for your business, then you can spend that all day long. You don't need to set a budget for it. You can spend $1,000 a day, $2,000 a day, $10,000 a day. As long as that ROI stays the same as you scale it up, then why would you cap how much you spend? So it all comes down to how profitable is that advertising campaign. And if you can achieve a positive ROI with an individual ad campaign that you're running, then you would put as much money as you can and try to maximize the return on investment for that campaign. But you can only do that if you're tracking your return on investment. You're tracking what happens to that dollar. How much am I getting back in return? So to calculate that, you need two things. Okay, number one, you need, what is your cost to acquire a customer? So how much money do you need to spend on advertising to get a new customer? And every marketing and ad campaign that you run will be different, which explains why this is pretty much meaningless, because it's just a general number. It really comes down to individual campaigns, because you may be running a Google AdWords campaign that's producing a 500% return for you, and you might be running a Facebook ad campaign that's only producing 100% return for you. So you would probably plow more money into your AdWords campaign than you would for your Facebook campaign. So you need to know how much it costs you to acquire a customer. So does it cost you $100, $200, $500 to get a new customer? So for every ad campaign that you run, you should be determining how many customers you're acquiring from each of those campaigns and how much it's costing you. The second part of that equation is, what is the lifetime value of that customer? Okay, so to give you an example, for like e-commerce, you would take your average cart value. So what's the average value of your cart? $100, $200, $300, and you multiply that by how many purchases that customer will make during the lifetime of their relationship with your business. So if your average cart value is, say, $100, and they typically buy from you 4 times before they disappear, then that customer is worth $400 to you. So now you have those two numbers. Now you know that a customer is worth $400 to you. Now you can determine how much you're willing to spend to acquire a new customer. Is that $50, $100, $500? You need to know those two numbers. And once you have those two numbers, then you'll know what ad campaigns to dump your money into and which ones to get rid of. Okay, so that's the modern answer. And the most important thing is you need to know these two things. You need to know what's the cost to acquire a new customer and what is the value of that customer to your business. And that will determine how much you're willing to spend on there, okay? And once you can figure out what ad campaigns produce a satisfactory ROI, then there really is no budget that you need to spend. There is no percentage because you can spend as much as you want to get that return for your business. Make sense? So hope that answered your question. Traditional answer, the modern answer, the one that you should be using, and that is what percentage of revenue should I be spending on my marketing and advertising. If you want to learn more, you can go to 3bugmedia.com. You can also subscribe to our YouTube channel below and learn more about online marketing. Thank you very much and have a good day.